Hello and welcome to round 9 of the HSO CART 1988 season. Coming to you tonight from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, or whatever it may have been called back in the day. Maybe you can help me out, Jason. We have Jason White with us at the moment.
Yeah, it was called the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. That's the official name of the circuit.
Good thing to know, my memory ain't as bad as I thought it was. So yeah, let's see. So first and foremost, let's have a quick look at the points. I think if I can find them in my list. I also realized I have forgotten to update them. I think it's wrong points. There we are. So after round 8 at Toronto, Grant Riddle is still leading on 80 points, but Jacob Fredriksson, after another win, has closed the gap to 6 points and he lies on 74. David Junt of the Krakow team and Jan Kowalski, I'm not sure which team he drives for, lies equal third on 61 points, and Richard Coxon lies 5th on 51 points.
Yeah, the F1 series that we've been doing parallel to this series is basically over, David Jiggs having run away with it, so it's really nice to see this series having a much closer points fight. Today's going to be very interesting because Grant is in his usual car, but Jakob Fredriksson is stuck in a March 87C this time, so he's going to have a bit of a handicap, although in qualifying here he has put up some decent times, so I don't know, that he may overcome that handicap.
Well, it's difficult to say, but he should definitely have a decent opportunity, even though his car is somewhat underpowered compared to Grant's in particular and a few others as well.
Well, it's not I don't think it's an issue of power for him, it's an issue of handling. Older chassis. He's going to have the same speed down the straight, but the question is going to be, is his car going to handle as well through the lower bits of this track?
Well, I suppose a lot of it comes down to his driving, then. It should definitely be possible, but it'll be harder work.
That's the thing we've noticed. Like in practice, we've been handing setups back and forth, trying to get people to go faster. And this is really a technique track. I think you have the track map, right?
Yep, give me a second here. Just having a bit of a play around with the sound. Let's see if I can find it in the list. I need to do a bit of house cleaning after this event, but there we go. We have the track map up and running of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, which is located in Lexington, Ohio, in the United States. A 2.4 mile permanent road course, and we'll be running 84 laps, which equals about 201.6 miles. So go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, this is a circuit that really favors drivers who have good technique. You can have an excellent setup for this track, but if you don't know how to use it, you're not going to be quick. There are a lot of strange tricks to going fast here that are a bit counterintuitive. The hairpin, you can actually take a strange line through there and go a bit wide, and if you can kick out the back end of the car, you'll get a good launch off the corner. Staying on the actual line in some cases is not the best thing to do. There are some hills that you go over that if the turbocharger happens to kick in at the wrong time, that could be bad. And the one corner that frustrates everyone here, I think, is the carousel that leads to it's the last section before you get back to the pits, because you go around there and you want to go quickly through there, but you just can't. You have to wait until you get to the right trajectory and then very carefully accelerate, because if you nail it too much, you'll loop the car and hit the pit wall. So it is definitely a course that demands a high degree of technique and sensitivity, which is going to challenge a lot of people today, I think. Even the good ones.
Indeed, and I'd say another sort of difficult turn would be that would be turn 12, I think it is, which is the last corner before the carousel complex, where you go over the crest, and if you put the power on at the wrong time, I'd expect the cars to be a bit squirrely.
Yeah, that's an off-camber corner, a right-hander, and the track does drop away from you. And if you get on the power too quickly, you can loop the car very easily. Once the tires get warm, it's not as huge of a problem. But if you're on cold tires and you go through there, getting on the power too soon, not good.
Indeed. I think we have a lap waiting for you to watch to show you the track in its full glory, but before then, I think we'll quickly glance over a few news that we can bring you after the most recent rounds and things that has gone on. So, among other things, Richard Coxon has joined the Newman Haas racing team. Not sure if that was planned or if it just turned out that way.
Alan Forrester left Newman Haas, and so Richard, seeing the opportunity, jumped into the Kmart Lola. So he's driving for Carl and Paul now, and hopefully he can do a good job for them.
Indeed. And Jan Kowalski has joined the Doug Shearson racing team. I'd assume that is the seat that Coxon left vacant.
Yes, and Jan will be happy about that because he gets out of a situation that he was at with Dick Simon Racing, where he occasionally would have an 87 Lola and then an 88 back and forth, which can be challenging to set up for. And now he's driving for Doug Shearson, and he has an 88 Lola the rest of the way. So that's going to be easier for him as far as setup goes.
That's a good situation for him then. And in his stead, Jan Tim of Sweden has jumped into the Dick Simon Racing team, and that
yes, your countryman.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, he had a start at Toronto. It didn't last very long. I think it was some kind of a technical issue, but he enjoyed the time he spent in practice and qualifying, so he's going to give it another shot now. Hopefully he's got his technical issues sorted out.
Yeah, as I hope will I, because I just dropped a few frames here. My apologies, but hopefully that was a one-off, otherwise I'll sort it out. And also the Krakow team, which David Junt drives for, switches from March to Lola, which I'd assume he'll be happy with, considering the bumpy nature of this track.
I'm sure he was turning cartwheels when that Lola arrived from the factory, because the March documented in this series, people started to just ditch them for Lolas towards the middle of the season because they just found that they weren't as competitive on road courses as the Lola was. The March was a car that was better suited to speedways. So, but those are the main developments in this series. We also have a couple of one-offs joining us this evening. Simon Watman in particular. So it's going to be an interesting evening with people in new cars and people who I don't think have had very much practice on this track. So it could be a hair-raising evening. We'll see.
Well, sort of depends on how hard everyone wants to push. If everyone takes it a bit easy and gets into a groove, I think we'll have a very nice evening here.
Yeah, potentially.
So anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, only that Jonathan has graciously offered to, or I asked him and he agreed to do the start for us. The start at Mid-Ohio is unique in that it does not occur where the pits are. It occurs on the backstretch for the simple reason that there's a lot more room for the cars when they're all bunched together at speed. If you tried to do it on the short straight where the pits are, there's a high probability that chaos would ensue. So after we do one pace lap, we will continue around at yellow speed, and then once we get to the once the leaders get within sight of the starters stand on the backstretch, Jonatan will send us on our way, and we thank him for that very much.
You're very much welcome, and now we'll ride along with Scott Urick for a lap around Mid-Ohio, and he'll be taking you through that. So enjoy the ride, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott Urick, helping out Jonatan Åcerclinth today. I'm going to show you around Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course if you're not familiar. This will just be a mediocre lap as I explain the course to you. It's been claimed the most competitive in the United States, and you'll soon see why, because fast cars, slow cars have an equal chance around here. Setups are widely varied. A high downforce car does well in the corners. Quick paces, the quick stretches need a low downforce car. But let's go around and take a look at her. We are in pit stall number 1, so we won't necessarily see the whole front straightaway. I'll show you that at the end of the lap. Pit out will be around here. You got to stay inside the curve on pit out. Cars will climb up through here, get up to 5th gear, at least the way my car is set up. This will be a down to 3rd through here. Now here comes the most painful corner in motorsports, I believe. Up over a hill, it feels off camber. You're down to 2nd gear. And then you can pour the coals to her going down the back straightaway. The faster cars will be doing upwards of 170 miles an hour. Down here to about the 3rd hay bale. Hit the brakes and you're down to 2nd gear for this. Braver men take it in 3rd. But they'll be down to 2nd gear for this. Turn 8, up over a crest where the car wants to dance out wildly as it unloads over the top of that hill. Now we go down through the rhythm section. 9, curve 10, 11, here's 12. Now this one, apex, right on the hill where you're trying to give it hell coming out of the corner. This is called Thunder Valley. You're up through here, and we come up to the carousel complex. Might get to 5th there, but you're down to 3rd for that corner. Now down to 2. You come around here, fairly flat corner, but it lasts forever. You want to stay hard inside so you can get a straight line out. On to the pit straightaway. Depending on your gearing, get up to 4th or 5th here. This is usually a 3rd gear corner through turn 1. So there, a little off-centered, but you've seen a full lap of Mid-Ohio. And I only drove that fast because that's how fast I could talk. So everybody, enjoy the race. Have a great time. This should be very competitive. I hope everyone behaves themselves, because this track is such a joy to drive. It is unreal. We'll talk to you soon. Jonatan, back to you.
So thank you very much to Scott Urick for providing us with that lap. As he said, a little bit lopsided as he decided to put it. It was offline a couple of times, but at least it gave you an idea of what the track looks like from a driver's eye view, and what the dangers are, besides what me and Jason has talked about already.
It's very nice of Scott to put that together for us. Yeah, the race is going to be 84 laps long, and this is a situation where you really want to. I mean, it's not going to be a high attrition race like Toronto, I think, simply because there's more room to run off here. But running close to somebody is going to be perilous, because if somebody makes a mistake and has to get out of the throttle, you have to be ready to react immediately. So we could see a lot of incidents like that. Hopefully not. We'll see. Jonatan, I'm going to leave you now so that I can get ready for the race, but thanks for letting me sit in for a second, and hope we put on a good show for everybody.
You're very much welcome, and thank you for joining me, and good luck for the race.
Alright, thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.
User disconnected from your channel.
So that was Jason White joining us for a bit of talking ahead of this race. He'll be driving in this himself, as we can see one of the cars having a bit of a moment. And it would seem like I have another bit of trouble with my... this is the problem with not having done this in a while. I have a bit of a control issue, so have a quick look at that. But yeah, as I said, this is one of my boogie traps earlier, and I'm honestly very happy I'm not driving, because I'd be very liable to cause issues myself. Something to note is that the race will be run without full course yellows, simply because of the risk of the race going a very long time. If we were to run it with yellow flags, but hopefully the race will still be tight and hard fought and good fun to watch. But in qualifying we have 10 minutes to go, and Grant Ridal sits on top with a massive gap. Second looks to be Martin Lasina of the Czech Republic in the number 12 Labatt sponsored car. Doing a very good job in that one, since he has been doing a very good job in that since he jumped into it a few rounds ago. I think he jumped into it after Indianapolis, if I'm not entirely mistaken. And these definitely aren't easy cars to drive, so all the more credit to him for being able to drive the car, and currently sitting second on the grid. And currently third looks to be Richard Coxon in that Kmart car. My apologies, I don't really remember names that well, so the team names often... Oh, as we can see, Coxon having a very big moment coming out of that turn, which we talked about earlier. My apologies, but I will be right back. In the meantime, I'll let you watch some of the action as the drivers come through. we are, I'm back. My apologies for being away for a short while. Hopefully the views from the track is good enough for you to enjoy them still. My apologies, I just clicked on the wrong thing here. But yeah, the racing should be good. We currently have Grant still in the lead, but Martin Lasina has closed in a little bit. And I see Jakob Fredriksson in March 87 lies 4th, with David Junt 5th, Ibanez 6th, Kowalski 7th, Hackman 8th, Ray Riddle 9th, and David Saber currently inside the top 10 in his number 3. So let's ride on board with him for a little while I stay silent. You can listen to the engine and the car being handled, well, manhandled, one should maybe say. There we are, we come back just as a car get launched into China Beach, as that gravel trap is called, just outside of T-turn 6. And that was on board with, honestly, Jason Whitehead, who is driving despite feeling a bit under the weather, one could say. He has broken his back in some way and is walking with crutches, but he will be trying to at least finish the race. even though he may have to go fairly slowly during most of the race to be able to make it to the finish. But hopefully he'll be able to get to the finish, and that'll be just rewards for him. Let's see if we can find any of the one-off drivers. Simon Watman and one of the one-offs is currently 15th, just ahead of new boy Jon Tim, or Team, who just hit the wall by the looks of things. And that is, looks like all of the one-offs. Adam Hackman is doing a good job lying in 8th, but it looks like with only 15 seconds to go, Grant Ridall is back out on track, but he is slowing down, so he is happy with his lap. Martin Lasina has enough time for one more lap, so let's ride on board with him. Looked like a decent lap, but he wasn't able to improve. Looked like he has a lot of downforce on his car compared to Grant, so could be that Grant has a bit of a high top speed and still being able to run at a decent pace. Jakob Fredriksson in March 87 qualifies 4th, David Jund 5th, Alberto Ibanez 6th, with Jan Kowalski 8th, Adam Hackman 8th, Jan Kowalski 7th, Ray Riddle 9th, and David Saber 10th. As we are just jumping over into a shorter, I'd assume, warm-up session. I'm trying to get to see how long the warm-up session is, but it'll be as long as it is. So yeah, looking at the race itself, would be hard. You would be hard-struck not to think that Grant Ridall will win it, considering he qualified over half a second quicker than anyone else. But Martin Lasina has proven to be consistent, and Jakob Fredriksson has always been very fast in these American open wheel cars, so he could definitely be in with a shout. And Richard Coxon, of course, showed at Portland that he's a very good road course driver, fighting with Grant for most of that race. And then we of course have David Jund, who is always almost a bit of a dark horse in some ways, being able to be fairly quick, but maybe with a bit too much bad luck. I'm also hoping that Adam Hackman will have a good race. But I'm hoping Adam Hackman will have a good race. He has been a bit down on the motivation side, but if he can get a top 10, I'm sure he will be very, very happy. There we go, that gives them a chance to know how that will look. Mick Chapman is also one of the one-offs, I believe. I don't think he's picked up a full-time ride yet. And Lewis Stevens, of course, joined a few rounds ago, and hopefully he'll be having a good round. And Jon Team, of course, struggled at Toronto, but hopefully he'll have a better round here. Qualified 16th, so decent pace. And yeah, we have the race time, race lap times coming in at the moment. Currently fastest is Jan Kowalski in the Domino's pizza team. The car which he picked up from Richard Coxon, and he's actually sitting right behind Richard Coxon here, so that's interesting to see. Very late break from Richard, and he stays on the track. Fantastic defensive work there. Oh, and a bit too much speed taken by Jan there. As we again can see, there's a lot of elevation and a lot of blind on the crest corners, so we'll definitely see a few spills, I'm sure, during the race, and hopefully some very good racing as well. Currently Jan is still quickest. And I must say, I'm hoping to make really good use of this camera angle, because it's a very spectacular camera angle, and if the racing is the way it should be around here, this camera will show a lot of action. For those of you watching not being aware, this bit of gantry to the left right there that we passed is the start-finish line, or the start, well, not the finish line, but the start line for this event. As Jason mentioned, I'll be giving the green, and that'll happen at that point on the back straight, more or less. So hopefully everyone will be able to behave themselves until we get to that point off the track. As we can see, Ray running a little bit wide going into the carousel section. Oh, and almost a bit of contact between Jan and Ray. We can see, I believe this is on board. Oh, it's on board Michal Janak's car actually. This should be one of the faster cars down on in the speed traps, but not necessarily one of the better handling cars, I'd suspect. But of course I could be very much wrong in that, but at least the speed traps should be something I'm right about, since it has the Chevrolet engine, which of course makes it a bit of a handful around here, especially at a place like that corner, and also up here, this left-hander could be a bit of a handful. So we can see a bit of sideways action up ahead from Raul Urick in the Yugo sponsored car. At least I believe it's still Yugo sponsored. And many of you will undoubtedly now be making jokes about that name. But it is actually a very surprisingly comfortable car, with seating for 5. Oh, we can see here, oh, the big speed difference down the straight. That's the Chevrolet engine compared to, well, full boost Chevrolet engine compared to a maybe not full boost Ford engine. I believe that car of Raul's is powered by a Ford engine. And a bit of a bad line taken by Michalan. Oh, and Raul actually was up the inside. But Raul backed out of it after the contact. Oh, but he's up the inside again. And here we can see the slightly better handling of Raul's car compared to that of Michal's. But this is the racing we could hope to see this evening, because this looks pretty good. And here comes Michal again down the straight, very early on this time around. When David Junt was stopped on the inside of the track there, going into turn 6. Ooh, and Raul wanted to go up the inside. Oh, he actually shoves Michal sideways there. Dear me. Hopefully they won't do that in the race. Let's see, it looks like we have run out of warm-up time, so we'll be going to the race shortly. A bit of argy-bargy in the pits, by the looks of things. But I think we'll leave the virtual fisticuffs out of this broadcast, otherwise it may turn into a bit of a not so good one.
Attention essential personnel leave the grid now.
My apologies for the high volume of that. That always freaks me out if I'm not quite prepared for it. My apologies for not getting that out of the broadcast this time around. I've been trying to do that for most of the rounds here, but well, sometimes has to be the first one you miss, I suppose. It looks like Grant starts on the right hand side. And there we can see the safety car as well, pulling away. So going through the grid, we have Grant Riddle on pole, Martin Lasina second, Coxon third, Fredriksson fourth, Junt fifth, Ibanez sixth, seventh for Kowalski, eighth Adam Hackman, ninth for Ray Riddle, and 10th for David Saber, 11th for Dana Schurer, 12th for Mick Chapman, 13th for Lewis Stevens, and 14th for Richard Wilkes, 15th for Simon Wattman, and 16th for Jon Team, 17th for Michael Drexler, or Mikael Drexler, my apologies, Mikael. 17th, 18th for Michal Janak, and 19th for Raul Jereb, and 20th for Juha Bors. 21st is Jason Whitehead with 22nd for Jason White, 23rd for Bruno Chacon, and 24th for Bob Hollada, and rounding out the grid in 25th is Lee Simpson. Yeah, so we'll do that. My apologies for all the camera angles. I'm just trying to find a good one for me to be able to see where they are on track, and at the same time not be too far away from the best camera angle for the early battling. And this will surely be the most tense moment for them going into this race. And we can see now that Grant is trying to warm up the tires just a little bit. Let's see, they are heading up to the start ramp. We are in sight of it now. And it's green, green, green. And we can see everyone getting away to a very decent start indeed. We can see that everyone gets through more or less unscathed. Looks like everyone gets through unscathed through turn 6 or turn 1. For this opening bits of the race. We can see immediately Grant has opened up a bit of a gap to Richard Coxon, but David Junt has made his way up to third. And Jakob Fredriksson still in fourth, so it's Martin Lassin who has lost 3 positions in the blink of an eye at the start. You see Grant first, Coxon second, Junt third, and then the rest of the field streaming through. Here comes Wilkes and Hackman, I believe. Here comes Jon Team and Chacon, Hollada and Simpson. It looks like the fight is for second and fourth right now. But the gap here has opened up, so let's jump back to a bit of a closer one. For 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Between Fredriksson, Lasina, Kowalski and Ivaniev. Oh, and Martin Lasina has had a bit of a moment. Let's have a quick look at that. See if we can see what happened on the replay. Oh, he just took the wrong line, I think. He decided to shortcut it, to not end up over the curbs and flying. You can see Ray Riddle still in the top 10. I think that is 9th. Sorry, that's 8th. Dana Shure 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Lewis Stevens, who has made up a few positions at the start. So Adam Hackman has lost a few. Here he is in the number 14 Copenhagen car. Still doing a good job, staying on the road and not losing out too much. I noticed his race pace was a little bit slower than some of the others. Just going back through the grid to see if we've lost anyone, but it doesn't look like it. But Grant has a massive lead here. That is a very big lead indeed. I think that will be at least 2 seconds. It's almost 3 seconds actually. To Richard Coxon, who himself has a bit of a gap to David Junt, who has a gap to Jakob Fredriksson, who has, after Lasina had that moment, gapped him a little bit. Well, let's see if we have any battles going on through the field. Here is David Saber, who has lost a few positions at the start. He's sitting right behind Lewis Stevens and going for it. We almost looks up the inside there, but backs out of it. And Lewis Stevens is closing up on Dana Shure as well, at least in the braking zone. So let's see what Saber can do down the straight here. And Lewis Stevens backs out of it and gives the position up to Saber, but he tries to do the cutback. And Saber almost lost the rear end, but he was able to keep it under reasonable control and gain the position. See, it looks like otherwise the battles are more or less spread out. You see that Raoul had the pace to fight with Kowalski earlier, but oh sorry, Michal Janak, but looks like he has been. Oh, as Juha Boos makes a bit of a mistake, runs wide in the carousel, and Raoul takes immediate advantage and goes by. Very nice opportunistic move right there. Let's see if we can get that on the replay as well. Here we are. We can see that Juha Boos just locks up a little bit, and that's enough to give Raoul the incentive to go up the inside and take the position. Oh, we have a bit of side-by-side action here between Simon Watman and Richard Wilkes. And Wilkes gains that position pretty easily by the looks of things. And here we have Jan Thiem on the number 23. He has survived longer than at Toronto, so that's nice to see. And I think he is inside the top 15. He is indeed his 14th at the moment, which is a nice drive so far. And Adam Hackman 13th, so he's doing a good job as well. And then we have Raoul Jereb in the Budweiser car, number 1. And then Lewis Stevens in 11th. Rounding out the top 10 at the moment is David Saber, trying to work on getting by Dana Schurer, and ahead of her is Ray Riddle, of course. And here comes Dana Schurer around outside of Ray, and she brakes really late and cuts in front, and I think that's the position gain. Oh, and up the inside goes, oh, goes David. Goes David, almost gets the position none there, but Raoul didn't want to let him by. And now, because he was defensive early on in the curvy section, he loses out to Dana Schurer quite a bit. But he gets a good exit off that turn and onto Thunder Valley, so regains a bit of that lost ground. Oh, it's Mick Chapman in the number 1 Budweiser car, my apologies. I wasn't aware he was driving that. And that is, of course, Bob Wilson's old car. Unfortunately, he passed away earlier this year, but Mick doing a good job with that car, keeping it inside the top 10, I think, at the moment. Just outside the top 10 in 11th. We can see that was David Saber, so Saber has made a mistake somewhere. Was out with the time, but Mick is doing a good job in that number 1 Budweiser car, and he's working away on the back of Lewis Stevens, and Lewis Stevens runs a little bit wide and onto the Thunder Valley straight. Oh, and that was a lapping of some kind. That's Lee Simpson trying to get out of the way. That looked very scary indeed. But he does a good job getting out of the way of Alberto though, but it looks like Lewis has some kind of issue with his car, because he is going very slowly indeed. Doesn't appear to be any steering damage, so possibly some kind of suspension damage or something. But yeah, 7 laps in. Grant Ridal has a 12-second lead ahead of Richard Coxon, so Grant is flying away at the moment. Second for Richard Coxon, of course, and third for David Junt still. Fourth still for Jakob Fredriksson, and fifth for Martin Lasina. Sixth for Jan Kowalski, and seventh for Alberto Ibanez. Eighth for Dana Schurer, and ninth now for Mick Chapman. No, sorry, Ray Riddle. Those two cars are way too similar. 10th for Lewis Stevens, and 11th for Mick Chapman. 12th for David Saber. 13th for Adam Hackman, trying to find a way past Lewis Stevens, who he is lapping at the moment, as Lewis gets nicely and well out of the way there. 14th for Jon Team, and he's under pressure from Richard Wilkes in 15th. And this is gets a bit close in 4 there, but or 5, sorry. But Richard Wilkes gets another position, so he's now up into 14th after having a bit of a drop back in positions early on in this race. So 15th now for Jon Team, 16th for Simon Wattman, the two Swedes running nose to tail here. 17th for Michal Janak, 18th for Juha Boos, 19th for Michael Drexler, and 20th for Raul Jereb, who is looking to try and get by Michael here. So Raul has lost out to Juha Boas and Drexler too. Oh, as Lewis Stevens is on this, look like he's stuck on the curb possibly right there. Oh, and Lee Simpson is out unfortunately, so he was indeed beached on that curb. That's sad to see, but it is what can happen unfortunately. 21st currently for Jason White, and 22nd for Jason Whited, doing a good job staying with it right here. And 23rd for Bruno Chacon, and 24th for Bob Holada, who has just dropped behind the leader. I think he was lapped last time around. But as we can see, Grant Rudal enjoys a big lead. But David Jund still hasn't relinquished the tail of Richard Coxon. That's interesting to see. I would have expected Richard to fly away here. And we can see a slight difference in their lines. OS Jund gets very, very loose going into turn 1. So he loses a little bit of ground to Richard right there. It looks fairly spread out at the moment. Well, as I say that, we come across David Sabre and Lewis Stevens still going at it. And here comes David Sabre around outside this time. But Lewis Stevens is still up there, but just about has the overlap to cut Sabre off going into turn 7. Here we go into the S's. You can see that Sabre has a bit of an advantage in the straight line, but Stevens definitely has a good handling car, because he could go a bit quicker through turn 1. Oh, but Sabre is looking for a good exit here, and he has Mick Chapman for company. I believe that was the number 1 car at least. This is a fight for 9th, 10th and 11th. We can see Sabre didn't get quite as close this time around. When Sabre actually locked up there, so this could give Mick Chapman a bit of an opportunity in the Judd-powered Budweiser-sponsored car. And yet maybe not. Because even on those short straights, the Chevy engine definitely shows its power. Because he's right back up with Lewis Stevens going down the start-finish straight. That is very impressive to watch. Oh, a Sabre overshoots. Oh, he's smoking. Did he blow his engine? Oh dearie me, I think he may have blown the engine. See, we'll possibly get a call of some kind. We do, it is the engine indeed. Wow. So let's see if we can get that on the replay. Exactly what happened, because he was going very quickly at the time. Was right on the downshift. I wonder if he, or when he was supposed to downshift. So I don't know if he over-revved the engine as he went over a crest or something, or what happened. But the engine blew on him, which is very unfortunate. But it is what it is, I suppose. And what can happen when you drive in anger? That's a bit unfortunate for us, because that takes away a bit of a battle that we had, but Grant Ridal currently enjoys a 20-second lead as we will go on to lap 15 when Grant crosses the line this time around. And let's have a ride on board with him and watch the current Mid-Ohio Master in action. That's a lap aboard with Grant Ridal, who is currently flying around this track, going way faster than anyone else, and if he keeps going at this pace, I wouldn't be surprised if he laps the whole field by the end of this event. But either way, I noticed that someone had a spin somewhere, and Simon Watman is out of the race as well with a blown engine on the same lap. Wow. Almost even more surprised to see that, because Simon usually is very kind to the machinery. You can see Bob is still in the race and doing a good job here, and Bruno Chacon also still in the race and doing a nice let by right there, letting Jan Kowalski go by. And then we have Jason White being involved in a bit of a kerfuffle right here with okay. So he and Jason White was letting the faster cars by, and Jason White ended up trying to take advantage of that, and I think he did. But that got a bit too close for comfort, I'd say. So the two Jasons almost causing a bit of an incident there. I'm not sure David Junt will be too pleased with that, but Either way, Raul running 18th at the moment, doing a good job with his number 16 machine. And Jon Team still in the race, also doing a good job, enjoying a bit of a gap to the cars around, so it'll be nice for him to have a bit of downtime for now, considering he was in a battle early on. And then we have Mikael Drexler struggling a little bit in that Penske machine, but I'm sure he'll be looking forward to the Pocono 500, which I believe is the next round. But don't quote me on that, I haven't double checked pretty much anything ahead of this round. Oh, and Mikael comes into the pits, as has Mick Chapman done. So that's 2 early pit stoppers. And those are on lap 17. Technically, yeah, lap 17 for them, or the end of lap 16. Almost feels a little bit early to me, but oh well. And since it looks like we have a slight bit of downtime right here, and sorry, I misidentified the cars. That was Juha Ball still in the race. Jon Team is 2 positions ahead of him. Owen Grant Rudall must have pitted because he has come out right in front of the pack. Right in front of David Junt and Richard Coxon, but that gives us a good indicator of how long a pit stop is. It would seem to be about 22 to 24 seconds, considering Grant was able to keep the lead after his pit stop. David must be running a lot of wing because he stayed in 5th for a very long time going into that horseshoe chicane. When Coxon running a little bit wide, but still closing in on Grant at the moment. We have a lapped car. I believe that could be Juha Bors, who has yet to pit. At least it looks like one of those red, white, blue cars. And there he goes out of the way, and that was indeed Juha Bors. And he gets nicely out of the way of David Junt. But it definitely looks like Coxon has a bit more understeer compared to Grant. A lot more understeer, at least in the very curvy section. So I'd assume Coxon is running a little bit less wing to try and keep up in the straight line. But it looks like with that, Grant has opened up a bit of a gap, and he may be able to stretch it out once again. Well, I say that, but he runs very wide. But he gets a very nice straight exit off the keyhole, so I think he'll gain. No, actually, Coxon gains down the straight, so he has a much faster car in a straight line. But as I mentioned, I'd assume he's running a bit less wing then, be that much quicker in a straight line. So Lacina looks to have pitted because he's down to 9th. Adam Hackman is up to 12th, so someone else must have pitted that was a bit higher up, or someone else has had a bit of an issue. Oh, Mick Chapman is out! Oh no! That's really disappointing to see, because he was doing a great job in that yacht-powered car. I suppose sometimes it's not supposed to be. Something we should remember right here is that Grant has had cold tires on his car and a big load of fuel in it. Coxon is still running with the same tires he had when he started the race, and he has burnt a lot of fuel in the opening, well, 21, almost 20, well, 21 laps now. So presumably Grant will be getting quicker and quicker here and pull away. Though Richard has done a really good job so far to keep up. We can see right here that Grant has pulled away a little bit on this lap. So I think what I just mentioned will be happening right now, if I'm not entirely mistaken. A bit of a lock-up from Grant. Still gets a good run through the last turn though. Let's have a look down the field. So David Junt has gone into the pits because Jakob Fredriksson is up into 3rd, as Ray Riddell lets him by. And 4th currently is Jan Kowalski. And 6th for David Junt, so he has lost 2 positions going into the pits. And then we have Lewis Stevens in 6th. I'm not sure he has pitted yet, but that's a really nice position for him to be in, I'm sure. And then 7th for Richard Wilkes. I'm not sure he has pitted either. And 8th for Dana Schur. 9th for Alberto Ibanez. I think Alberto has pitted, but I'm not sure Dana has pitted yet. And 10th for Martin Lasina, who has pitted, and he pitted very early indeed. And 11th currently for Michal Janak, so he has gained positions as others has pitted, but he has yet to pit himself, I think. And Adam Hackman moving out of the way of Jakob Fredriksson there, doing a good job at that. And he is currently in 12th. 13th for Ray Riddle. 14th for Jonatan. 15th for Bruno Chacon. 16th for Jason White. 17th for Jason Whited. 18th for Mikael Drexler. 19th for Raoul Jereb. 20th and in the pits for Juha Bors. 21st Bob Holada. And then we have our retirees of Chapman, Saber, and Simon Watman and Lee Simpson. As we can see right there, Richard Coxon is into the pits, and let's see if where he comes out on the track. So my apologies. So he is able to run longer than your boss. Looks like he's still in the pits, so he's having a bit of a nightmare situation right there. But looks like Richard Coxon can run 5 to 6 laps longer than what Grant Riddle can. So if he's able to keep the speed up, he may be able to get ahead after the last pit stop, and that could open up to a very interesting battle coming into the last few laps. Because with this, I think Richard will only need, see, he did 25 laps on that stint, so he will need 3 more stops to make it to the end of this race. While Grant will at least need 4 more, possibly 5. As Coxon goes out, up and out over the curb and loses quite a lot of time there, but I think it was a good idea to get off the throttle and not get too eager to get going once again, because that could have ended in tears. But he comes out in 3rd. Jakob Fredriksson still ahead of him, but I don't think Jakob has pitted yet. He may be hoping for a free stop race, because he is usually very good on fuel, and that car with a Ford engine should have a bit better fuel economy than the Chevrolets. I don't think he should be able to do more than 2, maybe 3 laps more than Richard Coxon can. I suppose we'll see in the next couple of laps here. As I say that, Jakob heads into the pit, so he did 1 or 2 laps longer than Richard did. But okay, so David Jung hasn't lost out. I was wondering where he went, but he lost out a bit of time, like a second or 2, but still within eye distance of Richard. So I think he'll be happy with how this is going so far in his Kraken number 18. And then we have, coming out of the pits just behind them, is Jakob Fredriksson, who will be slightly held up by Michal going through the chicane here. Hopefully Michal will be able to get out of the way in the keyhole, and he does. Nicely done. And 5th for Jan Kowalski, so Jan has gained a little bit of time in the pit stops, and here comes Richard Wilkes into the pits for his first stop. So that's Dana Schurer up into 6th and 7th for Ibanez. So these two has swapped positions during the pit stops. But Alberto should be able to outpower Dana Schurer if he's able to keep up in the twisty section. So within a couple of laps, I'm fairly sure Alberto will be ahead of Dana. But we'll see. Lewis Stevens still in 8th after all is said and done with the pit stops. Jason White got out of the way nicely there. And we have Matt Lasina right behind Lewis in 9th. So he has lost out somewhere in the opening stint. I didn't quite catch what happened, but presumably he had a half spin or something, because he lost quite a bit of time, and I'm not sure a pit stop in itself can lose him that much time. And 10th is Ray Riddle. So with there being a little bit of downtime in the race at the moment, I'll give you a bit of a trivia question. And the question is as follows. Who won the first kart IndyCar race at Mid-Ohio on July 13th, 1980? Was it A. Johnny Rutherford, B. Bill Alsop, or C. Gordon Jonatan? I must say that I had no idea when I saw the question for the first time, but hopefully you all will still be able to answer the question that I can't answer. But back to the track and the action, as Grant Rudal has just lapped Alberto Ibanez and will shortly be wanting to get by Dana Schurer as well. Unfortunately, that broke up that battle between Schurer and Ibanez, which is somewhat saddening to see, but drivers who are of equal pace usually gravitate towards each other, so probably won't be too long until they'll be on the same piece of racetrack once again, and Schurer ain't making it easy for Grant to lap her. And she has a Chevrolet engine, so she is very quick down the straights. But here Grant shows that he wants to go up the inside, and Schurer gets out of his way very nicely. And then we have Coxon in 2nd and David Junt still 3rd. And Junt has lost ground to Coxon in the last few laps. That's Bruno Chacon, nicely moving out of the way right there. And this is Jason White at the head, running a little bit wide, but getting out of the way very nicely. And as Jason hinted towards, Jakob Fredriksson is in a bit of a slower car in the handling department, although a lot of driving makes up the difference, and he is currently closing on David Junt, so In a few laps this could be a very interesting battle to watch for third place in this race. But looking a bit further back still, Jan Kowalski is in 5th, Dana Scher 6th, Ibanez 7th. And Ibanez still trying to make up the ground. He lost when they both got lapped by Grant Ridol. And then we have Louis Stevens and Martin Lasina, so these two are closing up. We can see that Lewis gets a very neat run off the keyhole, so it makes it very difficult for Martin to go for the move, but Martin has a bit of a look to try and unravel Stevens going into turn 6, but Stevens stays cool, calm and collected for now and holds on to his position. And we have no new retirees in the last half of this stint, which is nice to see. We can also see that Grant has lapped, I believe that is either Juha Boos or Jon Team, I'm not sure which of them. We can see that Alberto and Dana is closing up once again, which is nice to see. And it looks like Lewis has sort of shaken off Lasina for the time being. We can see that Alberto is a lot quicker down the straight. We actually tries to look for the move right here, but Dana holds him off for the time being. Very good defensive driving from her in that turn. And both of them missing the apex in turn 8. It would seem like Alberto is a little bit quicker, but his car is a little bit hampered in the handling areas of this track. And that's where Dana's Lola, I believe she is driving, excels. Sorry, Dana's driving a March 88. But yeah, still I think her car has a bit more ground effect compared to the Penske. Although that being said, the setting up of that ground effect on the March is a bit of a hassle, as they are both coming up on Juha Boos to put another lap on him, or their first lap of him, I should say. And I think they will have to Owen Bors goes out of the way of Dana, going into the carousel section. And Alberto gets held up just a tiny bit. But still a pretty good job by Juha right there. Alberto getting a little bit too sideways coming off the keyhole that time round, so he won't get a good run. Still closes within a few car lengths, but overshoots turn 6. Let's have a look on the timing board, just to see if there's been any major development. Adam Hackman has lost the position to Richard Wilkes. I noticed they were almost nose to tail a few laps ago. John Team in 13th. And then it's Janak, Drexler, Jared, Whited, Chacon, White, Bors and Holada. And we still only have 4 retirees from this race, 3 of them due to engine failure. We are swiftly closing in on the halfway point. We are only 4 laps away for the leaders to reach that point. But for now, let's continue watching this battle, I think. Well, let's have a quick look to see if there's any other battles brewing. Jacob still has a bit of a ways to go to get up to the back of David Junt. And Lewis Stevens is still holding a bit of a gap to Martin Lacina. Oh, and we just catch a bit of a moment for Jason Whitehead. Getting a bit of locking up the rears, I think, going into the carousel and losing the rear, but staying off the barriers and being able to continue. But it may be that his hurt back is getting to him a little bit, and that may mean that there's a bit of a battle coming for the 2 Jasons, because they've dropped away from one another. But Jason White is closing in on Whitehead now. We can hear the very satisfying rumble of that Urick V8. Oh, and Jason Whitehead has spun! Oh no! He has spun, but he's still managing to have the car running. Let's see if we can find out what happened. Oh, it was just a case of just a tiny bit too much throttle going out of the turn, but he does a good job so far of trying to get back to the pits. That's very unfortunate that Drexler is into the pits. So the start of the second stop phase has just come. Oh, and here is a very closed up battle between Stevens and Lacina. We can see yet again that Lewis gets very good runs off the keyhole, and the best passing opportunity of the circuit is not available to Martin. At least not for the time being. see once again that Martin has a lot more power in his engine department, but he isn't really able to make use of it, simply because Lewis has such good runs off this corner, but a slight mistake of getting off this corner and Martin will be right there. Oh, and Alberto has gotten by, so something must have happened to Dana Schurer somewhere. Not sure, looks like there is a little bit of lag going on, but she must have had a moment somewhere, because my apologies for this being a bit unprofessional, but oh, she ran off the road at the entrance to the carousel. Wow, I didn't expect to see Dana make a mistake, but it has happened today. We can see that Alberto ain't getting away at the moment. And they both have to negotiate Porsche or Bruno Chacon. Ooh, that was very close indeed between Chacon and Ibanez, but both of them survived by the looks of things, so let the battle continue. When Dana got very sideways going into turn 11 and onto the Thunder Valley straight. So it looks like she isn't quite as good at running in behind someone else. I believe we have reached a bit more than the halfway point. We have indeed. So let's quickly go through the grid. As of right now, there is a few pit stops yet to play out, but Grant Riddle is in the lead with a 14-second gap to Richard Coxon, who is second, third for David Junt, and fourth for Jakob Fredriksson, fifth for Jan Kowalski, and sixth for Alberto Ibanez now. Dana Schurer is 7th with Louis Stevens 8th, 9th for Martin Lassina, and 10th for Ray Riddle. 11th for Richard Wilkes, and 12th for Adam Hackman, still in the race and doing a very good job. 13th for Jan Thiem, who is also still in the race and doing just as good a job. 14th for Michal Janak, 15th for Raoul Jared, 16th for Bruno Chacon, 17th for Jason Whited, 18th for Michael Drexler, 20th for Juha Boos, running a little bit wide off the last turn, 21st for Bob Holada, 22nd and unfortunately out of the race, Jason Whited. My apologies, the two Jasons have very similar names. And the others out of the race is Mick Chapman, David Saber, Simon Watman and Lee Simpson. And we can see here Grant Riddle is coming up yet again to Dana Schurer and Alberto Ibanez. So he has pitted and lost a little bit of time, but goes to lap Dana, who heads into the pits. Has to not lose too much time with the lapping. I'm sure Alberto may follow her example on the next lap. We'll know in a little while. We can see right here that Junt and Fredriksson has closed up as David Junt heads into the pits. So all of our battles gets broken up by one thing or the other, unfortunately. Well, we still have this battle going on. And that unfortunately looks to be the only battle on track for the time being. So let's jump back to Lacina and Stevens in the battle for 8th. We can see up ahead, not sure who that was lapping Chacon, but Chacon letting a driver by. Owen Stevens really sideways out of turn 11. If he wanted, Lacina could have gone for the move going into the carousel complex. It is possible to go too wide into the first part of that complex, but you need 2 to tango through there. And Lacina goes up the inside of Chacon as well and puts him another lap down. And I must say Lewis is doing a terrific job right here. You've only seen him on the ovals, I believe. I believe he may have also done the airport track, Cleveland. But I don't think he had that good of an event right there. As Martin Lacina heads into the pits and looking for the undercut. As he heads around Alberto Ibanez, who now heads out to the pits, so let's see where he ends up on track. Oh, and he almost loses it on the pit exit curb, but he gets out ahead of Dana Schurer, so status quo between them. Well, almost, because Alberto has cold tires at the moment and a full tank of fuel. Dana has a full tank of fuel but warm tires, and to spice it up a little bit more, Jakob Fredriksson is sitting right behind Dana. I'm going for the move around outside to lap her, and Dana backs off and lets Jakob go through. Hoping that Alberto may have a bit of a bit less fortunate place to have to let Jakob by. And here he goes, Jakob going up the inside, and Alberto immediately going to the inside to cover the line, but still Dana goes up around outside, going into the carousel complex, and she goes by. A fantastic move by her, but almost lost out in the right-hander in the carousel, but she gets by, and the undercut worked. Simply because she had warmer tires, and Alberto had to let Jakob by in a bit less of a fortunate place. And here comes Adam Hackman into the pits. Now I'm looking for... I wonder where Lewis Stevens gone. Because I think cars always Richard Wilkes indeed. Oh, and we've had a bit of a try for a pass here, I think, between Alberto and Dana. Oh, Dana got really really lose going through that, but survived. Owen Alberto goes wide and on the exit of turn 11 and loses a bit of time to Dana. And actually, is this? Oh, Lewis Stevens is ahead of both of them. Well, I don't think he has pitted yet though. But Lewis Stevens currently sitting in 6th position yet again after the pit stops have almost shaken out, so he is able to run a very long time. He may even be looking at the 2-stop then, if this is the length he can run, because I believe Grant and the others will possibly be able to make it on a 3-stop, so a 2-stop would work very nicely for Lewis if that's a possibility. Because he has had well, if he can run 28 laps like he did the first time, that would put him on 56 laps, more or less. So that would just about put him inside of making it to the finish. And I think that is what he's trying to do here, because he did run a long while in the first stint and doing the same thing here. It'll be very interesting to see how this shakes out, because this is if this works out, that's a very nice strategic move. In the meantime, Grant has a 16-second lead, so Richard has yet to pit in his Kmart sponsored number 6 machine. And David Junt has gone into the pits because Jakob Fredriksson is up into 3rd. But it won't be too long until he himself will be heading into the pits, I don't think. Maybe 1 or 2 more laps. Owen. Oh dearie me, there's someone off. Who is that? Is that you? How is it? That is... Oh, don't tell me that's Jon Team. It is Jon Team. Oh, he was having such a good race as well. I wonder what happened. Did he? Let's see. He understeers onto the curb, and that is enough to put him offline and onto the grass, and then the gravel, and then the barriers. That's a very easy mistake to make. But of course that would be of no consolation for John, who did a great job in his Dick Simon racing car, but unfortunately it had to come to an end just after the halfway point. Looks like Richard Coxon has headed into the pits for a stop. Oh! No! Richard Coxon is out of the race as well. Oh dearie me. Most likely out of the race, I should say. He is trying to rejoin. I'm not sure the team will be able to repair that, to be perfectly honest, but it was exactly the same as what happened to Jon Team. He just rode the curb a little bit too much, and that's a blown engine, and that's Richard out of the race. Well, that's really unfortunate, because Richard too was doing a great job, staying in 2nd for the whole first half of the race. Oh dear, but I suppose 52, 53, 51 to 53 laps in, people are starting to feel the feel the wear and tear of this track, because you only get really 7 or 8 seconds to relax on this back straight. Well, maybe a couple of more seconds, but I don't think it's more than like 10 seconds, maybe 11 seconds down this back straight where you can actually have an opportunity to relax a little bit and try to take in what's going on around you. But that leaves Jakob Fredriksson now in second outright, but I think he'll lose a position to David Junt when Jakob heads into the pits, unless he has pitted and I've not seen it, and he has been able to outwit David Junt in the pit lane. We can see Jan Kowalski not that far behind, in 4th now, and 5th for Lewis Stevens, so he is doing a magnificent job in that car. And 6th now for Dana Schurer, 7th for Alberto Ibanez, still trying to catch back up to Dana after he made a slight mistake in the very same turn where we've seen 2 retirements in short succession. And 8th for Martin Lasina, 9th for Richard Wilkes, and 10th now for Michal Janak, but I think he has still to pit. So I think Ray Riddle will be in 10th when Michal pits. 12th for Adam Hackman. 13th, another race for Richard Coxon. 13th for Bruno Chacon when he unlaps himself. 14th for Jason White. 15th for Raul Jereb. 16th for Mikael Drexler. Ooh, trying to get out of the way, having to do it very abruptly. But he is able to keep going, and that's good to see. And 18th for Juha Boos, and he is our last. No, sorry, Bob Hulada is also running, and he is 19th. And he is our last runner in this race. But Bob doing. Oh dearie me, as Bruno Chacon and Grant Rudall makes a bit of contact. Hopefully no major damage done to either of them, but Grant clearly a little bit rattled by that. Locks up immediately going into the following turn. I think that was Grant just braking a little bit too late. Maybe not quite understanding where Bruno wanted him to go. But either way, only a small scare, and Jakob Fredriksson still to pit, I believe. We can actually have a quick look at that, whether he has pitted in the last few laps. He has actually pitted in the last few laps. It was 3 laps ago, so he has outwitted David Junt in the pits. So Jakob making the most of Richard's misfortune, and sitting now, I don't quite want to say safely, but fairly firmly in second position in this race. Coming up to lap 9th placed Martin Lasina, or 8th maybe, since the retirements. He is actually 7th, and 8th for Lewis Stevens. So Lewis pitted in maybe 2 laps ago now then, and he has Richard Wilkes for fairly close company. We can see here that Lewis is struggling a little bit on his cold tires, but let's see, how many laps did he actually manage to run before he had to pit? He ran one last lap, so we ran exactly 56 laps. We could very well make it on that from here to the finish. It'll be very, very close, but I think he will be able to do so. And actually, it is a bit less than what others are running, so he ran 55 laps, but he is 2 laps down, and will probably be one lap more down before the end of this race, so he could very well make it to the end of the race from here. It'll be very tight, but he could definitely make it, I think. But here comes Richard Wilkes looking up the inside, but he backs out of it. He didn't want to launch it down the inside from that late on the straight. And he also has Grant Riddle for company, so these two are just about to get lapped by Grant once more, and we put 3 laps down. And here comes Richard Wilkes into the pits. I thought he had pitted already, but that clearly was not the case. So unfortunately most of the battles has been broken up. With that said, Jan Kowalski closes up to within a car length of David Junt down the back straight. So this could be a battle brewing right here. But we can see from this camera angle, the car is moving around quite a bit for Jan. And David had a bit of a lock-up. Still got a good run now to the last turn now. In F1 nowadays, I would say, and here comes the DRS for both drivers, but only engine boost is what makes the difference here. And here comes Jan round outside of David, but David brakes late down the inside, and it's very, very close, but David holds on at least for the time being. That's Juha Bols getting out of the way, and Jan getting very, very sideways coming off the keyhole. So David should probably be safe right here. Ooh. Well, as I say that, Jan has a lot of speed down the straight, but not quite enough. And he will of course be burning quite a bit of fuel in that car, so going that quickly in a straight line, I think David is running one and the same boost more or less. While by the looks of things, Jan is turning up the boost down the back straight to try and get by David. But he's yet to be able to do so. We can see yet again that David has very good handling in the last carousel complex and gets good runs onto the start-finish straight. There's Jason White getting out of the way, but unfortunately ending up in the way of Jan Kowalski in the chicane because neither of them had anywhere to go. But Jason very neatly gets out of the way as soon as he is able to. And that breaks up this battle for the time being. And we can see that Grant has a massive lead still of now 43 seconds to Jakob Fredriksson. But the battle for second is fairly close in either way because it's only 5 seconds-ish between Fredriksson, Junt and Kowalski. Although Kowalski again got held up a little bit in the SS this time around. And here we have Dana Shure back in the pits. What is this all about? She pitted not long ago. Unless she is going for last pit stop here, knows she can make it to the end from here. Oh, and Alberto is out of the race, I didn't notice that. And Alberto is out of the race. And Rolly Reb is out of the race as well. Wow, I missed a couple of retirements here, my apologies, but yeah, that's very unfortunate because both Alberto and Raul was having pretty good races going. Let's see, we have now. This will be a big fight for Lewis Stevens for 6th position now with Dana Shure. Because I do believe Dana is a little bit quicker, but both of them should be able to make it to the finish from here. Question is whether Lewis will be able to fight or not. Due to the difference in the fuel levels. Eighth for Richard Wilkes, so I think he'll be pretty happy with that. I think he said he wasn't sure whether he'll be able to make it to the race or not, so bearing that in mind, this is a very neat drive from him. And he's proved that he can fight as well. I apologize, Richard, I put the commentator's curse on you, but still, you can keep going, and that's good to see. 9th for Michal Janak, so... No, sorry, that's Ray Riddell. That looked like Michal Janak's car from the rear. And then we have Adam Hackman inside the top 10 in 10th. That's really nice to see. Hopefully he'll be able to stay there and get a bit of a confidence boost. Because this is a very good drive from him. And 11th for Michal Janak, 12th for Bruno Chacon, 13th for Jason White, 14th for Michael Drexler, 15th for Juha Bors, and 16th, once he unlaps himself, Bob Holada, who's doing a good job keeping it on the track and maintaining a decent speed, I must say. I'm sure I would be a lot slower around here because this is a very difficult track to drive, even in less powerful cars than these kart machines. And we can see now that Jan Kowalski has been lapped by Grant Riddle. But it looks like currently David is closing in on Jakob Fredriksson, so this could be a bit of a battle in the future if they can close in on each other just a little bit more. But unfortunately, it looks like all the battles has broken up, so yeah, it's a lot easier to commentate when there's battles going on all the time, I must say. But even with that, it has been an interesting race. It has been interesting to see that Grant can drive that fast and still keep it on the road and pull away by such ridiculous margins to everyone else. He's definitely the class of the field tonight, and I think he'll be very happy with stretching out his championship lead, if only by a little bit, by winning this race. If Jakob finishes second, he will only lose out, I think, 2 or 3 points maybe. I'm not entirely sure of the point structure. I think it's something like that, and that would mean that there would be, I believe, 9 or 10 points between the two, with 4 rounds to go. It's also been interesting to see some of the new blood doing a very good job. Lewis is a relative new blood, sitting in 6th at the moment, and of course Jan Team, who joined us for Toronto, did a very good job up until his unfortunate fallout from the race, but as Richard Coxon showed, it's easy to do, so hopefully Jan won't feel it was too bad. My apologies, I just checked on the forums, and looks like Alberto Ibanez had a moment of lapse of concentration, fiddling with its HUD, possibly preparing for a pit stop. And Raoul Jereb had a disconnection, one of the curses that has followed him with Mid-Ohio apparently, disconnecting during races at this track, which is unfortunate, but one of the what you could call mechanical failures in a virtual sport. Although some would argue that this isn't a sport, it's just a hobby. But sort of depends what side of the fence you're on, I would say. For me it's technically a hobby, but I wouldn't mind if anyone thought of it as a sport, because it takes concentration and a certain amount of endurance. Although you don't get the G-forces and all that kind of stuff, you still have to keep alert and work the wheel and pedals. But either way, back to the action. Well, the action that is there. Looks like everyone is more or less spread out, unfortunately for us, but let's see. Martin Lasina's in the pits, and there comes Ray Riddle as well into the pits, and Adam Hackman may gain a couple of positions to be sitting 8th with 14 laps to go. Which, if he can make it without a stop, will be a very nice finish for him. Again, he's doing a very good job in that Copenhagen number 14 machine. You can see Ray Riddle has just gotten out of the pits, and he is around 8, maybe 10 seconds behind Adam. Michal Janak comes out of the turn 1. Martin Lasina still in the pits, so he must have some damage being repaired. Now he comes out of the pits, so he has lost a lot of time yet again during a pit stop. He actually loses out to Bruno Chacon, so Bruno Chacon gains a position there and goes up into 12th. And I believe that is Jason White. Oh, my apologies. Bruno did not gain a lap, he unlapped himself from Martin Lasina, but Jason White and Bruno is having a bit of a fight back here. Let's ride on board with Jason once again to listen to that Buick V8, beautiful sounding engine, and see if he can get into a bit of a battle with Bruno for a couple of laps here before we check back to the trivia question and then bring home the last 10 or so laps. Always Jason has a big moment coming off of turn 11. Was able to hold it on the track though. Bruno runs wide going into the carousel complex, so I think it's equal. I think it equals out pretty well, the time lost for both drivers. Again, Bruno runs a little bit wide, but looks like he gets a pretty good run off the keyhole to be able to stay ahead of Jason. Of course, this isn't the perfect track for the Buick engine. It has a lot of torque, but it feels a little bit more at home, I suppose, on the short ovals. Novus where you need to accelerate from low revs, and so I assume Pocono will be a pretty good round for Jason and his fellow Buick drivers, so I'm sure there will be a couple of Buick one-offs. OS Jason runs wide going into the carousel complex, gets back on track and without spinning. Owen Bruno has a loose moment, has another loose moment, almost spins, but is able to keep it on the track. So both of them are exchanging mistakes and losses of time. But surely that battle will be on. Oh, Jason has a bit of a look, but Bruno was able to stay ahead and keep the position for now. Here comes one of the Chevrolet cars. That's Richard Wilkes flying by. Let's see, since that should probably bring a little bit of downtime, as Grant has just lapped the whole field, incredibly. Let's go for the trivia question with 10 laps to go. So the trivia question was: who won the first kart IndyCar race at Mid-Ohio on July 13th, 1980? Was it A. Johnny Rutherford, B. Bill Olsen, or C. Gordon Johncock? And the answer to the question is that it was A. Johnny Rutherford, which is, I suppose, not that surprising, because Rutherford was often very quick, and even late in his career he was able to qualify slightly slower cars than what should possibly have qualified. But anyway, as we can see, there is a bit of a gap between Jason and Bruno, whereas Jason has a half spin going up onto the curbs there by the looks of things. But let's go through the field and see if there's any battles brewing. Oh, my apologies, I should change the cameras as well. There we are. I can just find the correct one. There we are. My apologies. Got to change that. But anyway, Grant Riddell is still in the lead by a whole lap to his nearest competitor, so he is definitely the master of Mid-Ohio in the Kart 88 season. No question about it. Second is currently Jakob Fredriksson, and third is David Junt. Fourth for Jan Kowalski, and fifth still for Lewis Stevens. If he can finish in fifth, that will be a very neat finish for him and a great drive, because he has held off Dana Shurov for the last 10 or 12 laps here, which is very impressive indeed. And seventh currently for Richard Wilkes, so he'll be very happy with that, I'm sure. Eighth for Ray Riddell. I think he will be pretty happy with that as well. Ninth for Adam Hackman, so he'll be very happy with that if he finishes, I'm sure. And hopefully he will finish in that position, so he will get, as I said earlier, a bit of confidence boost and hopefully be even better at Pocono. And 10th for Michal Janak, and 11th for Martin Lasina, 12th for Bruno Chacon, still in a battle with Jason White for 12th and 13th, and 14th for Mikael Drexler, and 15th for Juha Boos, and 16th for Bob Holada. So it looks like the closest battle on track always it looks like Martin Lassine would have a bit of a moment there, but it looks like the closest battle on track is currently between Bruno Chacon and Jason White, or Jason White has a bit of a moment off that turn once again. But it would look like Bruno is faster in the curvy sections of the track, but Jason is a little bit quicker from here down to turn 6 and 7. Oh, and Jason have a bit of a moment in the chicane, but he was able to survive and still looking to get past Bruno, but looks like he won't be able to do it in the next couple of laps, but you never know. Stranger things has happened. Michael Janak has pitted, so Martin Lassine is up into 10th. Adam Hackman still in 9th and has the start-finish straight in advantage, so he should be able to hold it unless he makes a mistake. And then we have Ray Riddle in 8th, Richard Wilkes still in 7th, Dana Schurer 6th, with Lewis Stevens still 5th. And he's actually pulled away from Dane in the last few laps, so as long as his feud lasts, he will be 5th, and I think very, very happy with that. 4th for Jan Kowalski, 3rd for David Junt, 2nd for Jakob Fredriksson, but still a lap behind. Grant Rudall is in the pits. Well, so he won't be able to make it, so he had to do a splash and dash here. He had a lap advantage, so he won't lose out too much with that, and it is a splash and dash. But he will have 5 laps to go to complete to cap off this race. But everyone is more or less spread out. It's only a battle between Bruno and Jason, who can still heat up, I believe. As Bruno had a bit of a moment in the last part of the S's. Oh, we have a bit of a spinner up ahead. That was Juha Bors, I believe. Because I didn't see a big number on the side, so I don't think that was Martin, though it of course could have been. As I said earlier, it looks like Jason has a bit of trouble with understeer. Compared to Bruno especially. But he is definitely closing in this part of the track. If he could just get a bit get a bit of a better ending in the carousel complex, I'm fairly sure he would be able to put Bruno under pressure going into turn 6 right down here. Has a better run through there. But Bruno has very good speed down the start-finish straight. Let's see what Jason can do up here. He definitely is quicker through the chicane. I think he has a bit too much understeer through here. Does indeed. When Adam Hackman heads into the pit, so he won't be able to make it on the fuel he has, so he has to make a quick splash and dash with 2 laps to go. That's very unfortunate. Hopefully he'll only need a very low amount of fuel here and he will be able to get out. Oh, Michal has already passed him by the looks of things, so he was trying to fuel save but wasn't able to do so. Bob Holada is also in the pits for a quick splash and dash. But he's standing a long time here. Not sure what Adam is planning there, but still finishing 10th would be a very nice award for him. But I believe this is the final lap, so let's give Grant Riddle his due, because he has had a Class A drive at Mid-Ohio this evening and had a lead of over a lap for a portion of this race, and heading through the S's up to Thunder Valley and the last carousel complex for the final time. Rudol takes it very easy, and as he crosses the finish line, comes out of the last turn, crosses the finish line, waves across the line. He will extend his championship lead and promptly puts it in the barrier. He will extend his championship lead by a few points, and I think he will be very happy with that indeed. Second in this race will be Jakob Fredriksson, although he has David Jund for close company, so we'll wait for a little while just to see them go across the line before I say one thing or the other. But I did see that Jan Kowalski finished 4th. It looks like Jakob has a neat little gap, so unless he makes a big mistake, he will hold on to 2nd here. He does indeed hold on to second, so Jakob Fredriksson finishes second, ahead of David Junt in third, fourth for Jan Kowalski, fifth for Lewis Stevens, so he'll be very happy with that, I'm sure. That's a very, very, very good drive for him. Sixth for Richard Wilkes. Seventh for Dana Shure. Not sure what happened between those two, but Dana lost out. Eighth to Ray Riddell. Ninth for Martin Lasina. 10th for Michal Janak. 11th for Adam Hackman. Wow, so he lost out a lot having to pit. That's very interesting. Oh, Dana Shure actually crashed in the last few laps. When Hackman lost his engine in the pits, oh no! So he finished 11th, but still a good finishing position for him. He will be classified in 11th. 12th for Bruno Chacon. 13th for Jason White. 14th for Mikael Drexler. 15th for Juha Boos. And rounding out the field was Bob Holada in 16th. And apparently both Bruno and Jason White is fairly spent after that race, which is understandable considering they fought for the whole event, but a very good drive from all of them, and big congratulations to Grant for scoring a massive win, as we are now joined by Michal Janak. Good evening, Michal.
Hello, good evening.
Looked like you had a bit of a lonely race later on in the race, but feel free to tell us about how your race went.
The race was better than I expect on the start. I didn't any laps before half of qualification, and only fighting setup to stay on the track.
User joined your channel.
But in the race I was quite comfortable with the car, and I'd have some few seconds behind car before in front of me. So at the end I was about to finish 9th, but some laps the backmakers didn't make the room and cost me some few seconds.
Oh, that's unfortunate, but I believe you still finished 10th, Michal, and I suppose you're...
It's great for me in this situation at all.
No, that's good to hear.
I'm quite happy.
Oh, that's very good to hear, and we're also joined by David Junt. Good evening, David.
Good evening, Jonathan.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
It looked like you had a pretty good race as well, David, finishing third and almost being able to get up and past Jakob in the last few laps.
Yeah, it was unbelievably tough race, to be honest. It seems like the setup that I had too much wing. I was like easily losing 5/10 on the straight, and I tried to clinching it back into turns. So it was just about enough to like get back on Jan, because I had such a good brakes into turns, so I could keep the place ahead. So I could stay ahead, even though it was a bit hairy at times. I tried my best, and I gave as much room as possible. And Jan was very nice. On one piece we were like side by side, and we could like complete a few turns without killing each other. I'm sorry to Jakob though, although I have to say I was never going to give way on the inside, so I don't understand how he's being a Kimi on me, and we nearly ended up both dead. So I was pitting the lap afterward, though I know he didn't know that, but felt unnecessary when I'm already on the left. Gap was as we know in motorsports, this was gonna close much faster, and this felt a bit Senna-esque to me, so I don't know why that was necessary. On the other hand, as I said, I pushed, and probably the wings helped me as much, and I couldn't get Jacob in the end because that was missing the pace, and because it seemed like everybody was going quite a long time on their fuel stint, and then like they were about to nearly one pit stop, so felt a bit on the backhand. It looks like with less boost they were nearly keeping the pace, and I was just fast enough there.
Well, at least you finished third, so not all bad, but I can understand your frustration with some of the issues, but either way, congratulations on your third place, and Michal, congratulations on your 10th. And we're also joined by Juha Boss. Good evening, Juha.
Good evening.
Hello, Juha.
I spent most of the race getting out of everybody else's way and driving through the grass. So I hope I didn't annoy too many people.
Yeah, I did notice that you had a couple of lawn mowing situations, but you definitely you definitely got out of everyone's way safely by the looks of things.
Yeah, had a lack of practice, used someone else's setup, and that didn't really work. I think I could have finished 10th to 11th until I put myself into the wall, and that was it.
So
I
that's
just
what
spent the
happened.
race cruising around going for the finish. Yeah. Yes, fuel consumption was very good. Top speed was good, but I just lost it on the same place where Richard Coxon crashed. But my car wasn't fatally wounded. I just lost 3 laps. If not, I probably was slightly behind Michael Janak's pace, but that was it. Couldn't hope for much more. No. I finished, which wasn't bad.
Well, at least you weren't alone in crashing. I think we had 3 or 4 guys going off in that very place.
Yes, I've seen a few of them.
Yeah.
I prefer ovals anyway, so we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, all of you, what do you think of Pocono? I believe is the next round. And what kind of luck are you expecting, or races are you expecting there? Maybe Michal could go first.
It will be oval racing next time.
Okay, David next maybe?
Sorry?
Pocono is next. What do you expect there, and how do you think your races will go?
Pocono, you said?
Yeah, I believe that's the next one, isn't it?
It's
yes.
oval.
Yeah, it is
Anyway.
Noble next.
By now we already established that I'm not a pure pace front runner at ovals, or 3 ovals like this one is probably. People will probably disagree since I somehow won Michigan, but to be honest, 100 laps is a long time, and you're better off just being careful. And my general is finish first, then maybe top 10, and from there on we'll see. That's what I'm most aiming for.
Sounds like a decent plan. You get the honor of capping off the broadcast in terms of interviews. What do you think of, how do you see Pocono going for you?
Well, I think I have a Lola T87 for Pocono, which is quite a good idea for that track. Since it's not a road course, I might actually set a good result there, so I'm hoping for something a lot better than what I did today. Not going to win it, definitely not, but I definitely hope to finish inside the top 10. Should be possible on that car.
Okay, so with that I think we'll cap off the broadcast. So thank you very much, David, Juha, Michal, for joining me in the booth, and all
Thank
the
you.
Thank you.
and all of the racers for joining us for this event. And next time out we will be at Pocono, the Tri-Oval, but for now, thank you very much for tuning in, and take care, and see you next time. Good night.
Bye bye.
But Lewis, all of the racers for joining us for this event. And next time out we will be at Pocono, the Tri-Oval, but for now, thank you very much for tuning in, and take care, and see you next time. Good night.
Bye bye.